Crawford. Smale. Randolph. Truxillo. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Public announcements, please silence all phones and electronic devices. If you disagree with the decision this commission makes, you have the right to appeal it to the council. The appeal cards are over on the railing to the right. Speaker cards, if you wish to speak and haven't already completed a speaker card, please complete one and turn it in to staff and they'll get it up here to me. Public speaking, 10 minutes each side and 5 minutes for rebuttal. Please exit the building after your case is heard. I think there's other people that are wanting to come in. Please rise for the invocation by Commissioner Randolph and the pledge by Commissioner Willie.
Gracious Father, once again we come to you to say thank you, Lord, for your grace and mercy that you exhibited and executed into each and every one of our lives. We thank you, Lord, for our families. We thank you for this parish. Lord, we thank you for our parish government, our employees, and Lord, we thank you for this commissioner and our parish councilman. Lord, be with us, Lord, as we make these decisions, and we thank the dialogue that we've had this day. And Lord, we ask these blessings in your holy name. Amen.
All right, in your packet there was the minutes from the April 12th meeting. Hopefully you had an opportunity to review them. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
Motion to approve carries.
Thank you. Request for postponement. Helen?
Number 2 on the agenda, revocation 2022-05006. We are requesting, staff is requesting to postpone the request. At this time, we have not received all the required information. I know that there are some, we have people who have filled out speaker cards interested in speaking in regards to that revocation. Of course, the commission can vote to hear the constituents who are here to voice their opinion. However, if I'm not mistaken, you will not be able to vote on it considering that we have not received all the information.
This is item 2.
This is item 2.
Okay. Let me read that into the record and then, all right, it's item 2, which is REV 22-05-006, the revocation of an unopened portion of Coors Carson Street located north of Privell Street, south of Jones Street in Square 311A of the town of Mandeville Subdivision, Ward 4, District 7, Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable James Davis. Need a motion to postpone. Commissioner Crawford.
I make a motion to postpone.
Motion by Commissioner Crawford to postpone. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote.
Motion to postpone carries.
Thank you. Helen, you got some others?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on page 4, number 20, 2022-2755 FP. Mr. Paul Marone is here to answer any questions the commission may have.
Okay, thank you. Let me read that into the record. Item 20 is 2022.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I think it should be number 18, not number 20.
Excuse me, I apologize. That's correct. 2022 is number 18, 2022-2753 TP. I apologize. It's River Park Trails, not River Park Estates.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Item 18, this is under tentative subdivision review. It's 2022-2753-TP, River Park Trails subdivision, formerly River Park Estates subdivision, Phase 3, developer owners River Park Estates LLC, engineer and surveyor Deep South Design Group LLC, Parish Council District Representatives Honorable Martha Cassabon. General location, the property is located on the north side of MP Planche Road, west of Louisiana Highway 25, Covington, Ward 3, District 3. This was postponed at the March 8th and April 12th meeting. Mr. Maroon.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty. Members of the commission, Paul Maroon on behalf of River Park Estates LLC. You may recall that this matter has been tabled a couple of times because we had to amend the PUD to be able to move forward with tentative. You all heard that PUD hearing as a zoning commission last week and granted the approval, but that approval has been appealed, which means we're still caught in the same situation we were in before. Until that issue is finalized through the appeal process, then we're not primed and able to move forward with tentative. So we would ask that it again be tabled so that we can go through the appeal process. Hopefully that will be resolved next month and we can come back to you if the amendment is upheld and present tentative to you at that time.
Thank you. All right, anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on the postponing of this item? I'm going to come back to the commission. Commissioner Truxillo.
Mr. Marone, 30 days, think be enough, or should you go 60?
30 should be enough because it should be determined at the council meeting next month, which would be a week before your meeting here.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the postponement.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Truxillo to approve the postponement. Commissioner Willie.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote.
The motion to postpone carries.
Thank you. Ellen?
Number 23 on the agenda, 2022-2797 FP, Gust Island, and Mr. Jeff Shane is here to address the commission.
Okay. All right, item 23, 2022-2797-FP. It's Gust Island Estates Parcel I. Developer owners McInt Incorporated. Engineer is Kelly McHugh Associates Incorporated. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Michael Reno. General location, the property is located south of Louisiana Highway 22 at Gust Island Road, east of Louisiana Highway 1085, south of the Interstate 12, west of the town of Madisonville, Ward 1, District 4. This was postponed at the April 12th meeting. Good evening, Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, representing McInt Inc., which is both the owner and developer of this phase. Although many of the items have been completed, we have not submitted the documentation and/or have staff had an opportunity to review it. So we concur with staff's recommendation that this case be postponed, but only for 1 month, as we have every hope to be ready when we come back to you in June.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against the postponement of this item? I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Truxillo.
I make a motion to postpone for 30 days.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Truxillo to postpone for 1 month. Commissioner Seeger. Second. Second by Commissioner Seeger. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion to postpone carries.
Thank you. Ms. Lambert?
Number 25, 2022-2843 FP, Lakeshore Village, Phase 6B. Mr. Jeff Shane is here to address the commission.
Okay. Item 25 is 2022-2843-FP, Lakeshore Villages, Phase 6B, developer owners D.R. Horton Incorporated, Gulf Coast, engineer surveyors, the Planus Design Group, PC, Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Jake Airy. General location, the property is located north of Oak Harbor Boulevard, west of Louisiana Highway 433, east of Interstate 10, Slide L, Ward 9, District 13. Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, representing D.R. Horton Gulf Coast. The same comments I made as it relates to the Gust Island case. We would hope to have the list complete and have your staff review it by the June meeting, so we respectfully request a 1-month postponement.
Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioner Truxillo.
I make a motion for postpone for 1 month.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Truxillo to postpone for 1 month. Commissioner Randolph.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to postpone carries.
Thank you.
Number 26, 2022-2844 FP, Abita Ridge Phase 3A and 3B. Mr. Paul Marone is here to address the commission.
Okay. Item 26 is 2022-2844-FP. This is Abita Ridge Phases 3A and 3B. Developer owner is Abita River Park LLC. Engineers Kelly McHugh and Associates Incorporated. Parish Council District Representative Honorable David Fitzgerald. General location, the property is located on the north of Harrison Avenue, east of U.S. Highway 190, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This case is similar to the prior two that you just dealt with. Because of the outstanding items on the punch list, the staff has recommended postponement. So we would ask that you postpone it until next month. We believe that we can have that list whittled down in time for your staff to make their inspection and come back to you with a clean report next month.
Thank you. Okay, anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against the postponement? I'll close to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Truxillo.
Motion to postpone.
Motion by Commissioner Truxillo to postpone. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to postpone carries.
Ms. Lambert, is any others?
No other requests.
All right, we go back up to page 1. Item 1 is REV 22-05-005, revocation of an unopened portion of G Street and 7th Avenue located east of North Highway 190, north of 9th Avenue, Ward 3, District 2. The applicant is Baldwin Motors, Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable David Fitzgerald. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to revoke an unopened portion of a G Street and 7th Avenue in order to assimilate the property into the adjacent property which they own, and the staff has no objections.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Paul Marone again on behalf of Baldwin Motors Incorporated. These two rights-of-way in Alexisville, G Street and 7th Street are located just to the east of the Baldwin Motors dealership properties. Baldwin Motors owns all of the squares adjacent to it, 65, 66, 73, and 74. Portions of 7th Street are already revoked, and so we would ask that these be revoked so that we can simply assimilate these into the property that my client owns adjacent to each of them. Be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners might have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Marone.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of the revocation? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Appropriate, I move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve the revocation. Commissioner Randolph. Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Okay, item 2 was postponed. We'll go to entering parish right-of-way servitudes easement and Tammany Trace. Item 3 is request to enter the parish right-of-way for Manor Street, Robert Street, Walker Street, and Robindale Subdivision, squares 10 and 11, for the purpose of gaining access to the property. The debtor is Steadfast Development. The Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable David Fitzgerald. General location, the property is located east of Highway 21, west of Highway 59, and north of Highway 36, Abita Springs, Louisiana, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
Oh, yes, sir. Staff has no additional comments at this time. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone on behalf of Steadfast Development, LLC. As you noted, Mr. Daugherty, we're requesting to enter the existing rights-of-way, the Manor Street, Walker Street, and Robert Street in Robindale subdivision. It's important to understand what the request is this evening. These rights-of-ways already exist. Robindale subdivision has existed since 1960. My clients own 21 lots that are located along Manor Street primarily. And the purpose of our request is to be able to construct Manor Street so that we can have access to our property, also to construct certain retention facilities in that area to assist with the drainage. This is not a rezoning. The zoning's in place. It's not even a re-subdivision. As I said, the lots and the subdivision are already in place. We simply need to have access to those lots. That right-of-way is there and has been there since the 60s. The parish has just never built it out, and the original developer didn't build it out. So we are asking for permission to go in and do that in accordance with your specifications and your standards. We understand that we've got to meet all of the parish requirements with regards to not only the construction of the roadway, but also the drainage and so forth in that area. This area is in a critical and sensitive drainage area, so we understand that any development of these lots has to meet the parish's no net fill requirements, and we will have to provide detailed engineering drawings of the work that we intend to do. That's the construction of the road, that's the construction of the roadside ditches, that's the construction of the retention facilities, and also cut and fill calculations to assure that we meet the no net fill requirements. All of those are built into the process. We cannot get the work order to go to work or ultimately building permits to build the houses until all of those items are addressed. But tonight all we're here about is the request to enter the right-of-way so that we can get access to that property. So we would respectfully request your approval so that we can enter the right-of-ways of Manor Street, Walker Street, and Robert Street to access the 21 lots that my clients own along each side of Manor Street. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. Anyone wish to speak in favor of this? You wish to speak in favor? Ma'am, you raised your hand. You wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak in favor? I bet we got some people that would like to speak against. All right, I've got some cards here. I want to go through them. Denise Tobany. Yeah, it's 10 minutes for everybody.
Oh,
Okay.
For all of us together?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So my home was built in 1996 and has never flooded, but the streets on Goldfinch, my name is Denise Tammany, I live at 72440 Goldfinch Street. The roads around the house have flooded and continue to flood. There are drainage issues that exist in the neighborhood that would connect these three roads right into bringing traffic. And now we're going to build 20 to 30 homes. And the area that they're building in is an area that 10 days after a rainfall is still saturated with water. It is wetland. It's just a mess. So they want to have access, bring more traffic through our neighborhoods. And also they're saying they're going to put together a great plan, but I would say that before we vote to proceed to give access, before we proceed to approve any kind of building, flood mitigation study needs to be done, and the slab on fill needs to be done, because we're flooding now. We already have homes in our neighborhoods flooding now. We're going to put 30 homes in there and think that there's not going to be an impact? I mean, that makes absolutely no sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Rector.
Hello, Commission. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Daniel Rector, 72323 Manor Street. I've lived in that house since 1967, and there really needs to be a drainage study done of the neighborhood because nothing has been done to correct the mitigation of the streets that run east and west that cause natural levees. And this is a prairie area. I was 7 when I moved into that neighborhood. And with 3.5 inches of rain with Ida, we flooded. Water comes, the runoff from Chandler Subdivision in the back of it, Sunrise Estates, it's like a river. A day after it quits raining, it's still coming. This is all lowland areas. So to open up that street is just going to allow, we need a drainage study done for that area to figure out how to solve the problem. 100 truckloads of dirt that put into the mini storage, it's gotten worse and worse and worse since then. The water travels down the back of 36, goes down both sides of Garland, the right side of Florence. There's no drainage for any of that. Those are all levees blocking the natural flow. That's a prairie. So there was a 20-foot covenant in the back of every street in that neighborhood for drainage and utilities when it was designed by Walker Percy and Robert Lobdell in 1962. The utilities are there. The drainage ditches were cut on 2 streets, no maintenance of that at all. So the developers are saying that they're going to maintain it. The ditches aren't maintained now. Nothing's being done now. So anyway,
Okay.
I'll leave it to the wisdom of you guys, but it really needs to have a drainage study. We're flooding.
That will be all part of the development.
Before we open this street up and give access to it, we need to have a drainage
right.
study done before that, not afterwards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Steve Slayton.
Dr. Steve Slayton, 20484 Low Davis Road. I just found out about this yesterday, and through the parish, I got a map of what they're trying to do, and my guess is that this road is going to end up in my horse field or back to it. I have 25 acres that I've had for since 1991 that I owned. And anyway, you know, my question about all this is, in my opinion, the subdivisions of record are a blight on St. Tammany. And I had to laugh earlier when you said 51% of the people don't work in St. Tammany. Of course they don't. They work in New Orleans, and they drive an hour each day because they want to live in a place with trees and without crime. And what these guys are doing with their subdivisions of record, and it's not my first time that I've sat and saw Mr. Marone get up and do this, I'd like to find out if they have some on 1082, and we could develop them out there where these guys are sitting on their, 100 acres and nothing can ever get developed. What they're doing is, it's a horror story with these things. They come in, they build little starter homes, which in 5 or 10 years, drive down Plantation. Look at the crime in that area. And everybody here knows it. And there you go. I know what you're going to vote.
Okay, thank you. Leif Hagman.
How are you doing? My name is Leif Hodgman. I live at 72480 Kingbird Street. Right behind, I am directly behind Mr. Steve Slayton. Florence backs up right into this area. There is my next door neighbor. I have a plot of land right next to me, 2 fields, two lots that are not even developed. The water flows so high across the road on Kingbird that my next door neighbor across the street almost floods his home every single rainstorm. It doesn't matter how much rain comes down. It is so not developed. You are asking us to take, like he was saying, starter homes back there, and the crime that it's going to take, the flood that it's going to take, and none of you live in this area. This is serious. I can't take having my home flood because you don't do the mitigation on the flood mitigation on this area. That road, if it floods down, going all the way through and adding these little small starter homes, that water comes straight backwards towards my home. You're going to ruin my home and my area and the trees. and the animals that live back there. I mean, besides, this is not necessary. Please at least do the due diligence, do your flood mitigation, and give us a chance to come back, and after you did the studies, let us review it. Let us see it again. Give us one more chance to come back this way. Do not give them access to this now and say later on, we'll review it later on, and let them start building on this land.
Okay,
This is
Thank you.
ridiculous.
thank you. Lynn Fisher?
I'm Lynn Fritcher, 20477 Highway 36. I'm on the corner of Manor. I have a handout for every one of the commissioners, if y'all would like to give them out, please. It's a map of the area. I've seen more high water signs on Manor in 20 years that have owned that property than I would want to see. This is just going to complicate the issue. If you look on the map, I'm the purple dot on the map. The water travels through the back of all the businesses on 36 and the houses, travels through an 11-acre tract, through the cul-de-sac in Sunrise Park, through the back of my property, over to Manor Street. It does this every time it rains. We're tired of the flooding happening, and they want to extend Manor and make the flooding even worse. That little green square is a ditch, not a road anymore, and all the water from Sunrise Park goes through that ditch and comes into Manor when it rains. I'm asking y'all not to do this. It's just going to make matters worse. There's been no drainage studies. Garland Extension, Sunrise Park, and Robindale subdivisions are old, and nobody's ever done the proper drainage work that we need. We all saying we flood. When are y'all going to listen to us and do something about it? It has to change.
Okay, thank you.
You can't keep building house after house after house and not take care of the old subdivisions.
Okay.
Thank
you. Ernie Dillon?
Yeah, my name is Ernie Dillon, live in 72400 Kingbird Street. I'm born and raised here in St. Tammany. I am the guy that they're talking about. I'm the guy they're talking about when that it gets all the flooding. I live on the corner of Kingbird and Florence. Right as the ditch, there's just an open ditch that goes from where I live over to Manor Street. Runs in a walker.
Okay.
I got pictures I'd like y'all to have. Y'all can hand them out and look at them.
Yeah, staff will bring them
The
up.
actual ditch is an open ditch. It's not a real drainage area. About 2 years ago, they came and dug it, but now it's overgrown and limbs and trees have fallen in it, and that's what drains over into Manor and Walker. What they want to add to it is right on the end of Walker, and it's going to drain right into everything that we already have. The picture I got of my yard flooding, it floods every time. Every time that there's a little bit of rain, it floods. Now, I've talked to FEMA. I've had them actually mail me something saying that we don't have an actual flood elevation. Not a real one. They said it fluctuates. We don't have a permanent flood elevation. Now, something's wrong.
Okay.
We have a real serious problem when we don't have an actual flood elevation.
Okay.
So we'd like y'all to look into it, see what you can do. If this thing pushes through and nothing else has changed as far as the drainage, I've never flooded yet, but I probably will flood. And if I do, whose fault is it? Is it the developer's fault or is it the parish's fault?
Thank you.
I'll rest. Thank you.
All right, Alton Potter? Do it.
How y'all doing?
Should be the last.
My name's Alton Fodor. I live at 72389 Plantation Street. I've only been there for a few years. I work for the LADOTD. I've been there for 10 years. I dig ditches for a living. Let me see here. I have a very good understanding of water flow and drainage. And in our area, we do have a lot of problems, a lot of flooding. Let's see. Our home has flooded twice in the last 2 years. Once was just some heavy rain, and the second time was Hurricane Ida. Also, the surrounding blocks, Manor and the one adjacent to it over there, they flood every time we get a heavy rain. The ditches fill up with water with just a simple rain over in there. Let's see. It is hard to support these new homes and land development in the area when the drainage in our area is so bad. I have a neighbor that's been there 20 plus years, and he said that there's never been flooding like this since all the new development come in on Homestead Street. Most of where all the ditches flow to the outfall on Homestead Street. There's a lot of inconsistencies that need to be addressed. The culverts, you got different size culverts, and erosion. A lot of things need to be addressed just in the areas that's already there to get the water to flow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, now, that's all the cards that I have wait a minute. I've got a number of cards here that either they didn't mark that they wanted to speak, or they marked that they did not want to speak. I have a card from Don Brewster. Do you wish to speak?
Are you doing that now, or are you going to do it in rebuttal?
Let's do it now.
Hi, my name's Don Brewster, a lifelong resident of St. Tammany. Live in 72535 Goldfinch Street in Sunrise Park subdivision. Been there over 20 years. It's a great neighborhood. We do have some flooding issues, and it's a quiet neighborhood. I'd like to see it remain that way. I'm afraid if they open these roads, we're going to get excess traffic and open ourselves up to more crime, because I know the crime is in that area. And I want to stress that, if y'all can, think twice about your vote tonight, and I hope it's against. Thanks.
Thank you. I've got a card on Hidman, Hidgmen, I believe it is.
That was me already.
Okay, all right. All right. Yvonne Smith, I've got a card, but it's not marked whether you want to speak or not. Okay.
My name is Yvonne Smith. I live in the Robindale subdivision, and I've spoken to my councilman, Mr. Fitzgerald, I think the name is, and we've spoken several times regarding the flooding that is ongoing in our area. He referred me to the Abita Nursery Drainage Survey that is ongoing, and he informed me about a year ago that nothing will be done until this drainage survey is being reviewed. I understand it is still ongoing. Of course, we were surprised to see the public notice on Manor Street, as we believe everything was on hold. Again, I would like to ask the council to maybe drive down Robindale subdivision and actually see the drainage ditches that have been dug by this developer. The culverts have collapsed. The actual area is not draining accurately. We have lost our turf, our grass, thousands of dollars worth of fruit trees and landscaping due to the ongoing inundation, actually. It is standing water for a period of days to more than a week at certain days. I would like for you to consider to approve this, because we obviously are very devastated.
Thank you. Melvin Saylor. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Mel Saylor. I live on 72465 Kingbird Street, and it's pretty well been covered as far as the drainage situation, but I will go into it. That ditch that they have back on, goes back down Manor and drops into their ditches and out to 36, and then of course on to the Abita River. Number one, unless they put bigger culverts down Highway 36, there's no way that these new subdivisions that are going in are ever going to drain. On the east side of Plantation, there's a ton of houses being built in there. It's a big subdivision. And in addition, now this one where they want to extend the Walker Street, it's called, into Sunrise Park, and Robert want to cut a new one across. That's going to bring all sorts of traffic down the residential area. Now, I have the minutes from 2004 when they were originally going to do the same thing, and they agreed not to cut through Manor Street, Walker, and cut into the Sunrise Park. But now, not only are they wanting to do that, but they also want to come back in and cut a completely new street across from Plantation across to Kingbird.
Okay, you've got about 20 seconds.
Okay, as I said, the backup of drainage, everybody has talked about. But there's no way these subdivisions can drain unless we have bigger culverts and probably bigger ditches down 36.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right, we're going to go to rebuttal now. Mr. Marone. You've heard the problems, so let's.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So a couple of comments. First, again, we're my clients own property. They own property on an existing parish right-of-way. We're not asking the parish to build us a road to get us to our property. We're just asking for permission to build a road on the existing parish right-of-way so that we have the right to access our property. That's what we're here about. We're well aware of the drainage concerns in the area. We know that we've got to present a drainage report that will deal with these issues. We will be bringing drainage improvements, not that's going to fix the whole area. Let me be clear about that. We're talking about one stretch of Manor Street that will allow us to access 21 lots. We're not going to be able to fix the entire drainage problem that exists in this area, but what we are challenged to do is to make sure that what we do there will not make it worse. We're going to bring in retention and other drainage features that, quite frankly, most of Robindale and some of the surrounding areas don't have because they were put in before these requirements were in place. We will take about the rear 40 feet of all of these lots and create additional storage and drainage. We will have retention where there is no retention today. So a no vote today says no, Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Adams, you cannot access the property that you bought, that you own here in St. Tammany Parish. You cannot build a road to your property, and that doesn't seem fair and reasonable. I recognize and respect the concerns that the residents have, that what we do here can't negatively affect them. But I also know that we've got to demonstrate through our plans to your parish engineers that we can accomplish that. And I can sit here and say all night that we're going to be able to do it, but we've got to prove that. That's the process that's in place. And we ask for the ability to be able to do that. With respect to the traffic, I would simply say that, again, we're talking about 21 lots. Those lots were not created today. I'm not asking you to create the lots. Those lots exist. With regards to the trees, respectfully, this is part of an existing subdivision. This right-of-way, these lots are the same as the ones that are to our east. They exist just as the ones to our east. They just weren't built out. And we would be building it out under the current standards, and we would ask for the ability to do that. With regards to the comment about our roadway, we would be extending our roadway into Dr. Slayton's horse pasture. I think respectfully he's mistaken. I mean, the roadway that we're proposing to put in is from Robert Street to Walker Street. There's no horse pastures there. It exists today. It connects one roadway to another roadway. Those roadways and those rights-of-way exist. We're not creating one new lot. We're not creating one new right-of-way. We're not creating anything new other than building out what's there and what's been there for a long time, simply so that my clients can get access to their property. And I believe they're entitled to get access to their property as long as they do it in accordance with the ordinances of St. Tammany Parish. And we're not asking you to waive or provide any relief to any of those ordinances. We intend to meet each and every one of them. But we are entitled to, I believe respectfully, to get access to our private property. And I ask you to consider that this evening in your vote, remembering that's what your vote is about. It is about whether or not we can access our property. The other issues will have to be addressed with your engineering and your staff at the appropriate time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Roan. Okay, we're in the rebuttal phase. You've got 5 minutes. To those that you wanted to speak against, you've got a total of 5 minutes. Okay, so whichever one wants to come first, it doesn't make any difference.
I'll make that very quick. If you have not maintained the ditches and the standards that you have built out the Robindale subdivision, it is the same developer. The culverts have collapsed and it is flooding now since the new subdivision has gone up. So if they haven't done that to those status that you are holding them to prior, and these homes are flooding now, or the area is flooding now due to that new development, how do we know that the new area is going to be built in a better standard when that is the reason why it is flooding now? And they're stating that, oh, we're going to do it better. But it's not going to make whatever is going on now better.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
I just want to say that I've been there since '91, so I saw the subdivision that they did across on the other side of Plantation. And I will just tell you a little story. So they bought 10 acres that backed up behind the Wilsons 40 acres. And we had Mr. Marone and his group at my home. And we asked, who owns the other property? I don't know. His group owned it. So when he's saying, I'm not going to push all the way up to your horse fence, I would bet the same group that's doing the strip here owns that other section also. And look, I get it. I'm not an anti-develop person. What I'm telling you is that subdivisions of record, and you know it, are destroying St. Tammany. They should be asked to build bigger lots. They should be asked to develop buffers of the neighborhood, and I would suggest to you that the flooding that goes on is for real. And if you drive down Plantation, do it one day after a hard rain, and there are times where if you don't slow up on Plantation, water will splash up against people's doors. And so all of this, your job is to do what the law says. Your job is, I've been on many boards, your job's to do the right thing. And the right thing is to not allow people to prostitute out St. Tammany. The more I travel to realize what Louisiana, with its litter, with its crime, with its problems, you go to Virginia, you go to Colorado, they don't let people come in and on the side of a mountain do 50 by 150 lots. I mean, you're here. If it was just the law, they don't need you. You understand what I'm saying? We could read the book, the law says X, give it to them. But you're here because you have to have some common sense about what they're saying. And what he's saying is he gets paid to, and so I said my piece, and I think everybody here feels the same way.
Okay,
Do the right
thank
thing.
you. All right, anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir.
I'd like to call your attention to this little diagram here, this map. So Robindale subdivision drains at the back of St. Anne Street. If you follow that dash across the Manor Street extension proposed, that's where that river is. So there's a reason why when they cut these streets in 1962, they didn't develop any of that area because it was a prairie, it was a swamp. So if I go by a swamp and tell you that I cut a bunch of lots in it, do I get a right to build a road to it? I don't think so. So we don't know all the ramifications of what's already been approved. They built 20 houses, we're flooding. They got approval to build another 20 houses, How much more are we going to flood? Before we even talk about extending Manor Street. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, anyone else wish, yes, ma'am.
I am an individual who actually had to, with a disabled veteran husband, sue a developer because they were not honest about flooding. Not every one of your citizens will be able to take out a loan to be able to pay for a legal defense for something that was just done wrong and against what they promised that they would do. Even with things in writing assuring me that a home had never flooded, it took photographs, aerial footage to show the house in fact had been flooded. And your judge, your legal system here said the case would proceed. And guess what? The developer wanted to settle right outside the steps, right? Your citizens don't all have access. It cost me $17,000 to fight for something I should not have had to have fought. I don't believe in these assurances. This kind of decision exposes your citizens to having to litigate over things they should never have to do if they were protected.
Okay, thank you. We've got 21 seconds on those who wish to speak on rebuttal.
I'll be short. My name's Lita Suarez. I live at 20315 Warbler Street. And just trying to come over here this afternoon, there was a traffic jam on 36. And people were leaving 36 and going through neighborhoods to find a way out. Our neighborhood doesn't have that right now because we don't have these streets the gentleman's proposing. When those streets are put in, we're going to have people all through our neighborhood. We've been there quite a long time. It's a nice, quiet neighborhood, safe for kids on the street. It won't be that way if these go. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, time has expired on the rebuttal. Of those of you that are against, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Oh, Paul, I have a few questions. You said your client owned 21 lots. What lots are they?
If you look on the plan here, it is 1 through 10.
On the left side of Manor Street?
Yes. It is 2 through 10 on the right side of Manor Street. And it is Lot 1 and Lot 1 on the north side of Robert Street.
Okay. So you looking to access Kingbird, Plantation, and Walker if this is approved?
Well, we would be building out Robert and Manor south to Walker. Walker already exists.
Right, and in Plantation, so you would go all the way from Plantation to Kingbird, is what I'm seeing?
I'm not exactly sure where Kingbird is.
It's
unless
left of Square 11, I guess
left of
west.
Square 11. So yes, if the Robert Street right-of-way actually connects to Kingbird, then that would connect to Kingbird, although.
Okay. Was Kingbird your border on the west side? That's what I'm asking.
I'm not certain about that. I'm not certain if Kingbird's the border on the west.
So, anybody, well.
Yeah, I'm not aware. I don't know if it does or it does not, so I can't answer that.
Okay. Does your client own the lots east, in Square 10, the lots east of the ones you mentioned?
They do not. Those lots are already owned, and many of them are already built out with homes.
You mean like lots 19 through 11? They were already built out
Correct.
on Plantation?
Along Plantation, that's correct.
Okay. So if you didn't, so your lots would be landlocked if you didn't gain access?
Correct.
Through Manor or Robert?
That's correct.
Not necessarily Robert as much as Manor?
Correct.
And the only reason you need Robert is to get to that one lot that's on the north side up there?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. I guess a question of legal then.
I knew it was coming.
If he's landlocked, can we deny approval to gain access to his property?
It's complicated. You'd have to refer to the Louisiana Civil Code, specifically Civil Code Article 689. It generally gives landowners a right to cross their neighbor's property for compensation and indemnifying their neighbor in order to access their property. I can't tell you that it's required of this commission, but I can tell you that that's what the Louisiana Civil Code says, that
So-
they would have a right under our law to require the parish to grant them access.
So if, if the parish owns property, then he wouldn't have to cross private property or get access through private property in order to get to his property, correct?
Yes.
So that'd be the route. I'm not a judge or anything, but the route would be that he almost has to have access to his property through that route, so.
Like I said, that's some complicated legal analysis requires further research and probably is subject to an attorney-client privilege as well to not be discussed in this meeting, but that's generally what the Louisiana Civil Code says as it relates to rights of passage as unenclosed estates.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, that's all.
Commissioner Seeger?
It's my understanding that this is already a public right-of-way. Is that correct, Mr.? No. Yes, it is.
That is absolutely correct. All of the rights of ways that we're asking to enter are public rights of way.
And when were these lots created?
About 1960 to 1962.
And the right-of-ways were granted at that time?
They were dedicated at that time to the parish. That's correct.
I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve. Commissioner Fitzmaurice?
I'm gonna,
No.
I'm gonna second the motion, and here's why. These are public right-of-ways. The parish owns them. And to the point of legal, no, the St. Tammany Parish owns it. The St. Tammany Parish government owns it. If we don't approve it, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get sued, because they have a right to access their property.
Wait a minute.
I seconded the motion.
Okay.
Who protects us from shoddy developers?
That's not what the question is.
We have a motion and a second now, okay? Wait a minute. If you folks, want to stay in the building here, I want to ask you to be quiet so we can go on and conduct business. If you don't want to be quiet, I have a sheriff's deputy that'll certainly help you get out the door, okay? Let us go on and do what we need to do. Commissioner McInnes?
I'm not sure I'll be allowed to make this motion, but I would like to postpone because I feel like we need more information on the drainage for this region from staff, and they may have a right to the access, but I don't see a problem in postponing. It's been since 1960. We can wait a little longer and really look at this situation. So I vote to postpone.
So you're making a motion to postpone. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Willie? Okay, we got a motion and a second to postpone. This will require a vote, so please vote. Yeah, this is for postponement.
The motion to postpone fails.
Thank you. All right, now we'll go back to, I don't remember now, who was on the screen? Barcelona?
I have a question for Mr. Marone. So in the request, it says the length of detention improvements is 523 feet. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so we're going to have retention that will be in the back of the lots, and a portion of the retention will be within probably the Robert Street right-of-way. So that's why I was looking for Mr. Jenkins when Mr. Willie was asking me a question about whether or not we were going to connect all the way into the property to the west, because a portion of that Robert Street right-of-way will be built out, but will be built out as detention, I believe, not as a roadway. So you'll have retention at the rear of the lots, 40 feet, and then a portion of it will be within the Robert Street right-of-way, I believe.
So when you say retention, you mean storage capacity
Correct.
for stormwater?
Additional storage
When it
capacity
rains.
for stormwater that doesn't exist today.
Last question, if the resolution is approved to allow you to enter the right-of-way, you can't do any kind of construction. You can't enter the right-of-way until you submit the drainage study, and it's approved by the parish staff. Is that correct?
That's correct. Until
So
we
you can't
meet
do
all
any
the
construction at all?
We can't do any construction at all until we meet all the requirements of the resolution, one of which is to provide detailed plans, engineering plans to your staff for review and approval.
In that drainage study, will you look at downstream impacts?
We will look at whatever the parish engineers require us to look at and to study
Okay.
as part of that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Seeger.
Mr. Chair, I call for an immediate vote.
Okay. Commissioner McInnes.
Paul, I have a follow-up question.
Nell, we've got a call for a vote, and, please keep it short.
I will. Will these homes be built on slabs?
It will depend on the cut and fill requirements because it is in a critical and sensitive area. So if they are built on slabs, it's got to be a no net fill. If we can't meet the no net fill requirements, then we would have to build on piers.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Willie.
Paul, again, this is part of the existing subdivision?
Yes.
Okay, is this another phase or just a continuation of the original phase?
Well, it's.
How does that work? Being so long,
Right. So it's part of, there was no detailed phasing like you would see in our typical new subdivision. So this is just the next piece that my clients own, the last piece that they own. And so this is.
So we wouldn't fall under the original requirements. We fall under today's requirements, right?
With regards to the fill and the drainage, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, back to Commissioner Truxillo.
I second for immediate vote.
Okay. We have requests to vote, and the motion is to approve. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, we go to page 2, item 4. I'm going to hold up for just a minute. I'll tell you what. Take it for just a minute.
Back to the commission. Commissioner Crawford.
Okay, Chad, quick question. This is on the north side of 190?
Yes, north side.
Okay, we already looked at that once, and we gave a zoning on that, if I remember.
Yes.
So now you're trying to parcel out this .9 acres, this parcel B, for the commercial side of it?
Right, yeah, my understanding is just part of the process, break it in two, so one will be its own piece of property.
Okay. Question for Helen, is that what the CBF one is? That's what this would?
That's
would
correct,
be?
yes.
Okay, okay. How many people is that going to serve?
Normally, we hope to get a 12-person tour during the day, and we drive a van from New Orleans, mostly tourists. So we drive a van over from New Orleans, so our van and maybe a car or two.
So it's about 12 is what you're saying? About 12 people?
Yeah, that's the hope, but it's a seasonal business, so I mean, it's not always 12.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve with the waiver.
Motion to approve with the waiver. Commissioner Randolph.
A second.
Second the motion. No one else? Please vote.
The motion to approve with a waiver carries.
Thank you.
The next case is 2022-2832 MSP, a minor subdivision of the remaining portion of parcel 11 into parcel 11A. Owner Sterling Properties LLC, James Moran. Representative Mark Salvetti. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Marty Dean. General location, the parcel is located on the southwest corner of East Brewster Road and River Chase Drive, Covington, Louisiana, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
I believe you may have skipped 2815.
Oh, I skipped one, excuse me. All right, we'll go back to 5. 2022-2815 MSP, a minor subdivision of 3.847 acres in a parcel A and B. Owner Representative Dustin W. Mooney, Johnny C. Slade II, Suzanne P. Slade. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Cheryl Tanner. General location, the parcel is located on the southwest corner of J. Slade Road and Columbia Road, Bush, Louisiana, Ward 5, District 6. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create two parcels from 3.847 acres. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to the fact that parcel B does not meet the minimum lot width of 150 feet required under the A2 Suburban District and requiring a waiver from the Planning Commission. The request shall be subject to items 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, good, to the applicant, sorry. I thought Dave was going to kick back in, but.
What we're trying to do here is make 4 pieces of property into 2, where I can give it to 2 kids. That's all I'm doing. There were 4 pieces of property there all together.
Okay,
So we've been breaking it in half and giving it to 2 kids.
all right. Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor on this? Anyone wish to speak against? I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Smale.
I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Smale to approve
With
with
the
the
waiver.
waivers. Commissioner Truxillo. Second by Commissioner Truxillo with the waivers. Please vote.
The motion to approve with a waiver carries.
Thank you. All right, the next item is item 6, 2022-2832-MSP, a minor subdivision of the remaining portion of parcel 11 into parcel 11A. Owner is Sterling Properties LLC, James Moran. Representative is Mark Salvetti. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Marty Dean. General location, the parcel is located at the east corner of East Brewster and River Chase Drive, Covington, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create one parcel from a 2.916 acre parcel. The minor subdivision request requires public hearing due to parcel A was previously part of a larger tract of land. It was never officially created, requiring approval from the Planning Commission.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Mark Salvetti. I represent James Moran in Marmont and River Chase. I'm with Sterling Properties, 109 North Park Boulevard in Covington. This, as Helen said, this parcel was a remainder. It never had a parcel identified to it. When we developed the preserve residential development, this was left over. It's on the corner of Brewster Road and River Chase Drive. It's not a residential zoning, it's a commercial zoning, so staff had asked us to go formally and assign a parcel number to it, so that's what we're doing tonight.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Truxillo.
I second.
Second by Commissioner Truxillo. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, item 6, 2022-2832-MSP, a minor subdivision of the remaining portion.
We're number 7. Number 7.
Oh, number 7.
Y'all didn't pick on him.
All right. Number 7 is 2022-2845, MSP, a minor subdivision of 7.38 acres and 3.61 acres into parcels 3A, 3B, and 3C. Owner representative is Maribel Soto Bourgeois Curo. That's probably wrong. Parish Council District Representative, Alderman Marty Dean. General location, the parcel is located at the northeast corner of Dummy Line Road and Louisiana Highway 1077 along Curo Lane, Madisonville, Ward 1, District 1. Staff.
The applicant is requesting to create 3 parcels from a 7.38 acre parcel. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to the minor subdivision of the 3 parcels is proposed to be accessed from a 35-foot access drive requiring approval from the Planning Commission. Parcels 3A, 3B, and 3C were previously part of a minor subdivision approved in February 2022, and also requesting a waiver to construct the 35-foot access servitude and the required drainage prior to the building permit being issued on parcels 3A and 3B instead of prior to the plats being recorded. And the request shall be subject to items 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you recall, this was in front of you in February, and basically what the owner is requesting is to be allowed to construct only 1 driveway for the 3 parcels. They were recently informed that there's a large culvert, a state culvert in front of what you see as Curo Lane, which makes it very difficult to install another culvert to access through the proposed originally the 3 access. So they're basically asking to construct 1 driveway, and it's shown on a survey here in dotted lines.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Jolie Bodenheimer, and this is my mom, Maribel. She said it all. We're just trying to move the driveway over that was originally approved, and just all 3 of us would access it ultimately.
Okay, all right. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of this? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the committee. Come forward. You want to speak against? Come forward.
Y'all can let him speak.
Okay.
It's your property. I don't know.
Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
Stuart Masson, live at 640 Longview Place in Madisonville, Arbor Walk subdivision. And our concern is how are they going to access this property and what is the drainage going to be? That's our main concern is what will the drainage be? And will it just be will it just be divided into 3 houses? And will it be multifamily? Will it be single family? We just need some questions answered. That's our main concern.
Okay, well, it's
Thank you.
single family anyway. Helen, you wanna, or Ted, one of you?
Yeah, I'll be happy to answer. This is proposed to be developed with, single-family residences, and the objective of being here is actually to reduce the number of driveway. They originally had approval to construct 3 driveways, and now it's just gonna be 1 driveway to access the 3 parcels of land.
Does that answer your question?
It will also have to meet all the parish required drainage requirements when they construct the road.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Motion to approve with the waivers.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve with the waiver. Commissioner Truxillo.
I second with the waiver.
Second by Commissioner Truxillo with the waiver. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve with a waiver carries.
Thank you. All right. Next item is item 8, 2022-2846-MSP, a minor subdivision of 30.19 acres into parcels A1, A2, A3, A4, and A5. Owner is S&L Properties of Mandeville, LLC. Representative is Jason Van Helen. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Cheryl Tanner. General location, the parcel is located on the north side of Louisiana Highway 21, Military Road, east of Higgins Road, Bush, Ward 5, District 6. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 5 parcels from 30.19 acres. The minor subdivision request requires public hearing due to the minor subdivision of the 5 parcels is proposed to be accessed from a 35-foot access drive requiring approval by the Planning Commission. The proposed name of the access on a survey plat shall be granted approval by the Planning Commission, and the proposed name is Fletcher Way and has been submitted and approved by St. Tammany Parish Communication District, and requesting a waiver to construct the 35-foot access servitude, add in the required drainage prior to building permits be it issued on parcels A2, A3, A4, and A5 instead of prior to the plat being recorded. And the request shall be subject to items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Okay, thank you. Jason Van Halen?
Jason Van Halen, 68420 Bodie Avenue, Covington, Louisiana. We just trying to create some nice larger lots out in a beautiful countryside.
Okay, that sounds good to me. All right, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Crawford.
It's nice to see some larger lots. Appreciate that. I'll motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Crawford to approve. Commissioner Barcelona.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Barcelona.
With the waivers.
There's no waiver on that one. Commissioner Willie.
Just a question of staff. Is this minor subdivision part of another minor subdivision? Was it?
It was
I see
previously,
adjacent lots. That's the reason I'm asking.
it was previously a minor subdivision, that's correct.
Was it? It is? That was correct, you said?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. Next item is item 9, 2022-2848-MSP, a minor subdivision of 20.408 acres into parcels A, B, C, and D. Owner and representative, South Fitzmaurice / Myers RD LLC. Carl Gottfried and Carol Fontan Gottfried are the owners and representatives. Parish Council District Representative Donald David Fitzgerald. General location, the parcel is located on the northeast corner of South Fitzmaurice Road and Myers Road, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 4 parcels from 20.408 acres. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcel B does not meet the minimum lot width of 200 feet required under the A1A suburban district along South Fitzmaurice Road and requiring a waiver from the Planning Commission, and the request shall be subject to items 1 and 2.
Thank you, and you are?
I am Carl Gottfried. I'm one of the owners of the property. This property's been in our family for 45 years. Back in December, we had it rezoned from A1 to A1A. We had the option of breaking it into 5 parcels. We elected to break it into 4, keeping the lot somewhat large. It's on the corner of South Fitzmaurice Road and Myers Road. It's basically in 4 pieces. The house in 3 acres. There's an office in 5 acres that is a 7-acre piece and a 5-acre lot. We would ask that you approve it.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? Bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Barcelona.
Make a motion to approve with the waiver.
Make a motion to approve by Commissioner Barcelona with the waivers. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve with a waiver carries.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to page 3, item 10, 2022-2852-MSP, a minor subdivision of 3 acres into lots A, B, and C. Owner and representative is Caddis Investments, LLC, Christopher Caddis. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Martha Casabon. General location, parcels located on the west side of Gosley Road, south of Ronald Reagan Highway, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 3 parcels from 3 acres. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to Lot A is proposed to be accessed from a 35-foot servitude passage requiring approval by the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Christopher Caddis. Good evening.
I live at 472 East Chase Court in Mandeville, Louisiana. I just want to make 3 lots out of 3 acres there to 2 residential homes.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone want to speak in favor of this? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Truxillo. Second by Commissioner Truxillo. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. Re-subdivision review. Item 11, 2022-2823 MRP, subdivision of 1.87 acres and Lot 10A, Fairview Oaks Business Park into parcel CW1 and Lot 10A1, Fairview Oaks Business Park. Owner and representatives, Favre Investment LLC, Uncas B. Favre Jr., surveyor is Kelly D. McHugh and Associates, Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Mike Marino. General location, the parcel's located on the south side of Louisiana Highway 22 at the end of Fairview Oaks Drive, Madisonville, Ward 4, District 4. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create 2 parcels, CW1 and Lot 10A1. The public hearing is required, considering that as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat, no lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission.
Mr. Marone.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Maroon on behalf of Mr. Favre and Favre Investments. Mr. Favre is proposing to buy the .33 acres from his neighbor, so he has some additional frontage for his lot 10A, which we're converting into 10A1. No new lots are being created, and both of the lots after the re-subdivision will meet or exceed all the requirements. So we respectfully request your approval of the re-subdivision of these 2 tracts.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Morone. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Barcelona.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Barcelona to approve. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. Item 12 is 2022-2847 MRP, re-subdivision of lots 2 and 3 into Lot 2A, North Shore Commercial Park. Owner and representatives, MJS Ventures LLC, Michael J. Schwartz. Surveyors, Kelly J. McHugh and Associates. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Riker Toledano. General location, the property is located on the east side of General Patton Avenue, south of Marshall Road, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 5. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create Lot 2A. The public hearing is required considering that, as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat, no lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yes, sir. I'm Thad DeVere, 207 Shenandoah Lane, Covington, Louisiana. I'm here to represent Mike Schwartz.
Okay.
We're trying to combine these two lots into one for a commercial development.
All right. Let's see if anybody else wants to speak in favor. Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close this to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Truxillo.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Truxillo. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. Item 13, 2022-2849-MRP, re-subdivision of lots 45, 46, and 47 into Lot 45M, Covington Industrial Park, Phase 2. Owner representatives, Favre Investment LLC, Uncas B. Favre. Surveyor is Kelly J. McHugh and Associates. Parish Council District Representative David Fitzgerald. General location, the property is located on the north side of Painters Row, west of Airport Road, Covington, Ward 4, District 2. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create Lot 45M as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat. No lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, on behalf of Mr. Favre and Favre Investments, we're proposing to combine these three parcels in the industrial park so that Mr. Favre can construct one larger building rather than three smaller buildings to create some flex space, which is what he does with some warehouse and office space in that park. And he felt like having the one larger lot as opposed to three different lots with three different buildings would be more efficient and appropriate. So we'd respectfully request your approval to combine these three lots into one.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Barcelona.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Barcelona to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. Item 14, cases 2022-2850-MRP, re-subdivision of lots 164B and 166 into lots 164B1 and 166A, Tarabella, Phase 1A-2. Owner representatives, Sonny Gizmo Trust, Edward S. and Cynthia B. Schmidt, and David and Hope Richard. Surveyors, Low Engineers, Parish Council District Representative Donna Marty Dean. General location, the property is located on the west side of 13 Point Avenue, north and west of Melrose Avenue, Covington, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The owners are requesting to create two lots, 164B1 and 166A, as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat. No lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Cindy Schmidt and my husband Eddie Schmidt. We represent Sunny Gizmo Trust. And we're here we built our house 2 years ago, and when we were surveying in the beginning, the Hope, the Richards realized that their house was built over this way a little bit too much, so they couldn't use that extra land because they had built their fence. So we re-subdivided or resurveyed the lots, and so that's what we're requesting respectfully.
All right, thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close this to the public and back to the commission. Commissioner Truxillo.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Truxillo to approve. Commissioner Fitzmars.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmars. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, item 15, case is 2022-2851-MRP, re-subdivision of lots 24 and 25 into lot 24A, Alamosa Park. Owner and representative is RML Properties LLC, Richard C. and Lisa Maya. Surveyors, Low Engineers, Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Riker Toledano. General location, the property is located on the southwest corner of Commercial Way North and on the north side of Marion Lane, Mandeville, Ward 3, District 5. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create one lot, Lot 24A, as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat. No lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission, and the request shall be subject to item 1.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Eddie Powell with Kyle Associates on behalf of RML Properties, which is actually LAS Enterprises. They own these two lots and would like to make them one for the construction of a larger warehouse to facilitate some of their work that's on an adjacent lot. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor or against? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, we go to page 5. Item 21. Case is 2022-2792- oh, wait a minute. Never mind.
You got me excited.
Yeah. Thought we were going to get finished. All right, we'll go back to page 4. Item 16, 2022-2853-MRP, re-subdivision of site 230 and a portion of the common area into site 230A, Natchez Trace. Phase 4, owner representative is Rockwell Builders, LLC, Robert Rockwell. Surveyors, Kelly McHugh and Associates. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Marty Dean. General location, the property is located on the north side of Natchez Court, east of Delta Queen Court, Covington, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create one site, 230-A, as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat. No lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission, and the request shall be subject to items 1 and 2.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman, staff, council. Robert Rockwell with Rockwell Builders, 89 Mark Smith Drive, Mandeville, Louisiana. It's a simple request, trying to keep everybody happy, including the Natchez Trace Homeowners Association and my client. They're requesting many things, including originally it was a straight drive. They want a J-load to get more cars off the street, and they also want it to be pushed back a little bit to give more cars to be able to be off the street.
All right. Good deal. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor or against? I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Truxillo.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Truxilla to approve. Commissioner Barcelona.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barcelona. Commissioner Willie.
Question, that common area is at the rear of the property?
Yes, sir.
You own that common area?
Yeah, actually, Natchez Trace Homeowners Association does. When I purchased all of the properties, I think I've been here about 7 or 8 times before. What's happening is we own the land, but when we purchased the land and we proposed this property, the back portion of the land was actually, I believe it's just given to Natchez Trace Homeowners Association. So they're asking us to move it back a little bit to give us, although I think I have this lot and one more, although all of the others, they just wanted to feel more comfortable if it will move back a few feet.
So do we need permission from the homeowners?
Yes, sir. We
got that, staff?
Yes, Ms. Helen has that.
Not yet, but they will provide it.
Okay.
They've provided
All right.
it in the past.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else, Bernie? All right, I'll close, let's call for a vote.
Motion to approve carries.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
All right, item 17, cases 2022-2856-MRP, re-subdivision of lots 134, 135, and 136 into lots 134A and 136A, the Bluff subdivision, Phase 5B. Owner and representative is Matthew and Michelle Pecoraro. Surveyors J.V. Burks and Associates. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Mike Smith. General location, the property is located at the end of Pearl View Court and east of Arbor View Drive. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create 2 lots, 134A and 136A. Excuse me. As stated in the restricted covenants of the approved plat, no lots shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission, and the request shall be subject to the below comment number 1.
Okay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Nick Pecoraro. I'm representing Matthew and Michelle Pecoraro on this matter.
Okay.
It's 3 lots in a cul-de-sac that they're just trying to re-subdivide into 2.
All right. Sounds good to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? I'll close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Crawford.
Second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Crawford. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, tentative subdivision was postponed. Preliminary subdivision review. There's none. Final subdivision review. Item 19, 20, cases 2022-2749 FP, Lakeshore Villages, Phase 6A, developer owner is D.R. Horton Incorporated, Gulf Coast. Engineer surveyors, the Planners Group, PC, Parish Council District Representative Honorable Jake Airy. General location, the property is located north of Oak Harbor Boulevard, west of Louisiana Highway 433, east of Interstate 10, Slide L, Ward 9, District 13. This was postponed from the March 8th and the April 12th meeting. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on April 29th, 2022. The inspection disclosed that all the asphalt roads are constructed and the subsurface drainage is functioning. As previously mentioned, the case was postponed at the March 8th meeting as well as the April 12th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to read just the warranty obligation into the record. Just for informational items, should the Planning Commission approve this request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 4,750 linear feet at $22 per linear foot for a total of $104,500 for a period of 2 years. Staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request, subject to the developer replying with all comments, which are none, and the plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily complete. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Good evening. Again, Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, representing D.R. Horton, Inc., Gulf Coast, the owner and developer of Lakeshore Villages Phase 6A, which comes before you for final subdivision approval. I'm proud of the staff comments. There were reasons that we obviously agreed with staff as it relates to postponement in both March and April. But as you can see, we have what we believe to be a very clean staff report. So we would appreciate your recommendation of final subdivision approval for Phase 6A. If any of you have any questions, concerns, I'll be glad to address them at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzwater.
I'll make a motion to approve and congratulate the developer. That's probably the best looking one I've ever seen.
Thank you. Commissioner Willie.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Willie. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. Item 20, case is 2022-2755 FP. This is River Park Estates Phase 2. Owner developer River Park Estates LLC. Engineer surveyor Deep South Design Group LLC. Parish Council District Representatives Honorable Martha Casabon. General location, the property is located on the north side of MP Planche Road, west of Louisiana Highway 25, Covington, Ward 3, District 3. This was postponed at the March 8th and April 12th meetings. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on April 29th, 2022. The inspection disclosed that all the asphalt roads and roadside shoulders are constructed and the roadside ditches are functioning. This case was previously postponed at the April 12th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. The following uncompleted items, number 1 through 4, existed at the time of the final inspection and will need to be completed before the plats are signed. Additionally, should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 3,900 linear feet at $22 per linear foot for a total of $85,800 for a period of 2 years. Staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. Additionally, no mandatory developmental fees are required since a public hearing was held prior to 1/1/2005. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Paul Marone on behalf of River Park Estates LLC. With regards to the 4 outstanding items, each of these have been addressed. We have the utility trench bedding and backfill test results, and those have been provided to staff. The all-way plaques have all been installed. The legal description and the conflicts in the legal descriptions have been revised and have been provided to staff. And we have a letter of acceptance from Magnolia Water with regards to our sewer and water service. So we would respectfully request your approval with all of those items being taken care of. I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners might have.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Anyone wish to speak for or against on this item? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Now I see why the other ones were postponed. This is your competition. It's clean. I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Truxillo.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Truxillo. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, now we go to page 5. Item 21, 2022-2792 FP, tribute at Tammany, Phase 1, developer owners D.R. Horton Incorporated, Gulf Coast, engineer surveyors, Duplantis Design Group, PC, Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Kirk Drum. General location, the property located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 434 and north of Interstate 12, Lacombe, Ward 7, District 11. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on April 29th, 2022. The inspection disclosed that all the asphalt roads are constructed and the subsurface drainage is functioning. The case was previously postponed at the April 12th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. The following uncompleted items, numbers 1 through 5, existed at the time of final inspection, will be completed before plats are signed. Additionally, a performance obligation in the amount of $30,000, this is $10,000 for 3 cul-de-sacs, will be required to ensure the construction of the required permanent cul-de-sacs at the end of the following roads. Additionally, should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 3,972 linear feet at $22 per linear foot for a total of $87,384 for a period of 2 years. Staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. Mandatory developmental fees are required as follows. Road impact fees at $1,077 per lot times 67 lots for a total of $72,159, and drainage impact fees at $1,114 per lot times 67 lots for a total of $74,638. Thank you.
Mr. Shane.
Good evening again. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, representing D.R. Horton, Inc., Gulf Coast, as it relates to tribute at Tammany Phase 1. We appreciate staff recommending approval of this phase this evening for final subdivision approval. And with regard to the 5 comments, I have provided you a response sheet from our engineer, Duplantis Design Group. If you'd like, I'll read into the record those responses in case you or anyone in the public may have questions as to how we intend to address those items. With regard to number 1, the final plat has been updated as requested and will be provided to staff for final approval. As to number 2, the surveyor has revised the plat as requested, and again, it will be provided to staff for final approval. As to number 3, the as-built information will be provided, and that this comment can then be removed from the final staff report and handled with the closing out of the mass grading permit. With regard to item 4, the as-built information, again, will be provided. We request that the closing out of the Tammany mass grading project permit not occur prior to final subdivision approval, but recordation instead. And with regard to item 5, the letter of exceptions and perpetual maintenance will be procured from Tammany Utilities upon receipt. The contractor is currently on site working on Tammany Utilities' final punch list. So we believe these comments to be good comments, but we think our responses are adequate. We understand that the plat will not be signed and recorded until these items have been completed to the satisfaction of your staff. And for those reasons, we respectfully request that you grant final subdivision approval this evening. If any of you have questions or concerns, I'll be glad to address them at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Come forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
Guess my name. Terry Lewis Stevens, 725 Dove Park Road, Covington, Louisiana. I'd like to say that I haven't even seen this plan, but I am thrilled that Tammany is starting to build. They've had their infrastructure in place for quite some time now. They were ready to build years ago, and they should have started building years ago, so I'm glad that they're starting. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Barcelona.
Approve.
Motion by Commissioner Barcelona to approve. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I'm going to second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Riss.
Yeah, just a comment for the developer. D.R. Horton's a pretty big developer and continues to develop within the parish. But the one thing seems like the projects they've undertaken so far, the amount they clear cut for their development. I did a Google Earth of the St. Tammany area, and it looks like pretty much like a wasteland out there. I know it probably meets all the requirements the parish has, but I would just ask them to start looking a little harder at how much of the properties need to be clear cut. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Willie.
Just a quick question. The ponds and the drainage infrastructure, they are completed? Or not? Yes. They are? Okay, the way it reads, it looked like they're waiting for recordation. So, okay, thanks.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. Item 22, 2022-2795-FP, Bonterra, Phase 1A, developer owner, Lynn Levy Land Company, LLC, engineer surveyor, J.V. Burks and Associates, Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Mike Smith. General location, the property is located on the east and west sides of North Military Road, Louisiana Highway 1090, north of Interstate 12, Slidell, Ward 8, District 9. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on April 29th, 2022. The inspection disclosed that all the asphalt roads are constructed and the subsurface drainage is functioning. This case was previously postponed at the April 12th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. The following uncompleted item, number 1, existed at the time of final inspection and will be completed before plats can be signed. Additionally, should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 3,160 linear feet, $22 per linear foot, for a total of $69,520 for a period of 2 years. Staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all comments in the plat, and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. Lastly, the mandatory developmental fees are required as follows: road impact fee at $1,077 per lot times 78 lots for a total of $84,006, and drainage impact fees at $1,114 per lot times 78 lots for a total of $86,892. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, representing Lynn Levy Land Company, LLC, both owner and developer of Bonterra Subdivision, Phase 1A, seeking final subdivision approval. Again, I'm pleased to report that although there is one item listed in the report, that item has been satisfied. Staff was provided on last Friday, May 5th, with a letter of acceptance from Utilities, Inc. So there are obviously no outstanding requirements with regard to final subdivision approval, resulting, of course, in staff's recommendation. I think that in light of commentary that I anticipate from those in the public to this case this evening, I would like to spend a few more minutes talking about some of the history of Bonterra as it relates to the issue before you tonight. It's my belief that the precise issue before you as it relates to final subdivision approval is, has the developer constructed the infrastructure and other subdivision components not only in accordance with the plans and specifications that was submitted and approved by staff, but also approved by you as a planning commission, but did not also, all of those improvements conform with all the requirements of laws, whether that's state, federal, or parish. So in that regard, I would remind you and the public that on November the 10th of 2020, this body, the St. Tammany Parish Planning Commission, granted unanimous approval for a preliminary subdivision approval for this project, Phase 1. And since that time, obviously, Phase 1 has been constructed. It is slightly diminished from the original 82 or 83 lots that were in Phase 1 to 78 lots, and that is why it has the Phase 1A designation. So it is nearly 95 to 98% of the Phase 1 that you approved. I would also like to note that when this matter was on your docket last month for final subdivision approval, we concurred with staff's recommendation that it be postponed, as there were 28 outstanding items most of which we had done, but none of which staff would have had an opportunity to review, evaluate, et cetera. I'd like to say that we appreciate the fact that we met with staff after your April meeting, went over the items that needed to be done, then got in the field, did those items, and made sure that we had someone on site when staff made its inspection, I believe on Friday, April 29 or thereabouts, in order to make sure that all of the things that had been brought to our attention on the April staff report were in fact satisfied. So I believe that this case comes to you this evening in much the same way the Lakeshore Village Phase 6A case just a few minutes ago, with no outstanding requirements. And again, we respectfully request that you grant final subdivision approval, and that if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I will be glad to address those at the appropriate time. If I have some additional time, I would like to reserve it in the event I might need it in rebuttal.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got 6:18?
6:18.
Okay. All right. Anyone wish to speak in favor of this final approval? I've got quite a few cards here that are marked for against. David Jones.
David Jones, 2141 Hampshire Drive, Slidell, Louisiana. Mr. Doherty, I've handed out this picture several times before to other members. This is what the plot looked like before.
Right.
Okay, we all understand that. Back to your comment about clear cutting, this is what the plot looks like right now.
Right.
Okay. 78 homes?
Yeah.
Okay. One entrance and in and out of the subdivision on Military Road. It is, the entrance is 1 mile west of Gauze, 2 miles west of Honey Island and Cypress Cove Elementary Schools. It is about 3/4 of a mile away from Brown Switch. The traffic pattern today is horrific there, with people taking their kids to and from school. Gauze traffic has always been not very good, okay? So I don't understand how we're gonna get 78 homes with people getting themselves out during rush hour, trying to get their kids out, you know, on a 2-lane highway, with traffic lights that are a mile or so or less from where this entrance and exit to this subdivision are going to be. So therefore, I'm very concerned about the traffic. I'm concerned about the potential accidents it may cause. I'm concerned about the backup, which is already bad there when people are trying to take their kids to and from the elementary schools, and it getting worse when this is actually opens up and is developed. I'm also concerned about getting in emergency vehicles, you know, in the event of emergency, off a 2-lane highway, in and out of this subdivision. And I would recommend that a traffic study of some sort be initiated prior to final approval in order for us to completely understand what is the impact that these 78 homes, phase 1, are going to have on Military Road when we went from this to this. And I'm still not sure I understand the flooding and the sewage and the water arrangements about how this is all going to work. If it dumps into existing crossgate systems, right now we're under a boil water advisory. We've been under a boil water advisory.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Darren Bourgeois. So you're going to speak in place of Darren?
No, sir. Should he go first?
He's going to go first, okay.
Stan Owen, 117 Shermack Drive, Slidell. I'll try and make this brief and to the point and focused. When I was before you last, when you denied Phase 2 and 3 of Bonterra, I had 3 concerns. One was the clear cutting of the trees, which was against the code at that time. The trees were supposed to have been inspected by the staff, marked by the staff, and then elected whether to be cut or not. At that meeting, the staff admitted that they did not mark the trees and did not inspect, and I just reviewed the tapes just to make sure I heard it right, and that's exactly what they said. The second concern was the green space, and the third concern was the environmental impact. The EPA has since been to the property about 2 weeks ago and are looking at the property. The Gum Bayou runoff, they've discovered the ivory-billed woodpecker is still alive, and so that issue is going to be tackled separately. The green space is still a concern, but I want to talk about the trees. So 10-inch oak trees should have been spared. We looked at the area that was cut but not cleared, and we looked at the area that's not been cleared is still forest. There were 6 to 8 10-inch oak trees per acre, more or less, and I asked that you consider replacing those 10-inch oak trees. There's 16 acres in Phase 1. That's 6, if you took the low side of that, that's 6 oak trees per acre. That's about 10 10-inch oak trees to replace. Now, I would beg that the staff admitted that they did not do their job, and I would beg that your obligation is not to protect the staff, but to represent the public. You have a right, for sure, and I would beg an obligation to have the initial landscape return to its initial condition, or at least the 10-inch oak trees. It's feasible, it's doable, and it can be done very quickly, quite honestly, without even interfering with the construction of the subdivision. If the landowner wishes to object, he could do that in court if you decide to go through with this, or they could go ahead and plant the trees and then seek damages later from the staff, which is independent of you. But it would send 3 important messages. Number 1, future developers would look at property very closely before they clear cut and looked at their obligations. Number 2, the staff would be sure to look at their obligations. And number 3, we would have precedent to do this parish-wide. So it's an important issue. So I'd ask you to consider that before you decide to vote on this specific issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren Bourgeois?
Yes. Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
My name is Darren Bourgeois. My wife and I purchased a property on Jacob Road, which borders the development. And so we came into this knowing that there was going to be a subdivision built next to us, and really didn't know a whole lot about it. I looked up the definition of PUD, and the PUD is supposed to preserve vegetation, take into consideration the topography of the area and the surrounding areas. From what I was learned was that you're supposed to have a buffer along the road and as well as the boundaries of the properties. So I object to final approval of Phase 1A for many reasons, some of which is the developer said they weren't going to clear cut the land, but they did. This is a critical drainage area. I don't know if you were aware of that. I know there are multiple ordinance violations that the developer had some clearing of trees without a permit, twice violating that cease and desist order. And but probably the most importantly is because I oppose this because the citizens of the parish were not afforded the process to oppose or support the development due to the lack of required public notice. So I did my research. No public notices were issued for the October 13th of 2020 planning meeting, which was postponed, nor was the public notice issued for the November 10th, 2020 planning meeting, which was approved. and I have documentation. I did submit a public records request to the parish. They were not able to substantiate to me that the proper public notice was given. I have some information that I'd like for the commissioners to see. The last public notice that was posted on site was for the September 8th of 2020, and I also have copies of the St. Tammany Farmer paper where the public notices, that is the official journal to provide public notices to the parish. Well, that was not provided. Public notice was not provided when the preliminary approval for Phase 1 was granted. So I would think that the approval for Phase 1 is null and void since the process wasn't followed. I thank you. I'll yield my time to my neighbors.
Okay. Suzanne Bourgeois. Pardon?
She doesn't wish to speak.
Okay. Charles Hartzman? We'll go over there.
Charles Hartman, 556 Manchester Drive, relatively close to the subdivision. One of the other things I'd like to bring up, in addition, I agree with Mr. Bourgeois because I was part of that process of looking that up. Also, earlier on in one of the planning meetings, was brought up, one of the items was that there was the distance between corner or intersection to driveways. And I'd like to know if that has been resolved because Mr. Shane asked that we pass that night and he go back and visit it at a later date. I'd just like to know if that's been changed because it runs rampant through the parish. It happens in all of the PUDs and it shouldn't happen. And if it hasn't been rectified, then we don't need to vote for it tonight. We need to shut it down. Can't just keep doing the same things wrong every time we comes up here, so. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Andy Vinson.
My time's dying already. Oh, okay.
Take it all.
That's okay. No, anyway, I'm gonna, let's see. Okay, this isn't gonna work, it's too small. Okay, look, I'm gonna talk about one aspect of the many that are in opposition to the Bonterra subdivision. So I'm just gonna select, unless more time allows in this, I doubt it will, is the green space. The total area of the development is 65.836 acres, and it's located on the east side of Highway 1090, also called Military Road. The total required green space, according to the PUD ordinance, is 25% of the 65.863 acres, which is 16.46 acres. The developer claims 6.926 acres of green space located on the east side of State Highway 1090. The development is on the west side. It's a busy highway. People would have to cross this state highway with their kids, hand in hand, whatever. And you can imagine what would happen if some kid gets hit crossing that without any provision for a safe crossing, a stoplight, a bridge, whatever you want to do. There is 10.45 acres over there, but 3.524 of that is wetland. And the developer thus far has not chosen to capture that and use 50% of that as green space. The next thing they claim is that 50% of a 6.46 acre borrow pit, which has been there for 52 years, excuse me, 52 years, and has become now a regular detention pond for that whole area.
That was 14 minutes they had.
So I'm okay. I still got my 3 minutes. That was because there was leftover time, right?
No.
We gave y'all 4 additional minutes for the original commentary.
Well,
So
I've
it
only
actually
been...
puts you 4 minutes into your rebuttal. So you actually have a minute left total time.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's what I have to do then, huh?
So anyway, there's a borrow pit there. They're claiming it as green space. It's a deep piece of water. It's 6.926 acres. They're claiming half of it as green space. It can't be allowed because even if you thought of that as green space, it's just water. It's a deep pit. Nobody can use that. It's a detention pond. And according to parish ordinance and the restrictive covenants in the PUD and parish ordinances 24 and 28 regarding parish responsibilities for detention ponds, the parish has to pay up to maintain this and to provide a safety fence if kids fall in here and drown, alligators, it's next to a swamp, whatever. There's also a piece that they claim is 2.41 acres. Let me go ahead and just jump. No matter how you add up the things they claim as green space from any angle whatsoever, they fail. And I was very generous offering them, in my addition, and I'm able to do that, a total of 15.87 acres, and that was stretching the point, and they needed 16.46, and they cannot make it. And a lot of this stuff should be disallowed, and it was wrongly allowed to be.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, I know, as green space. But, you know, if somebody's interested in doing this honestly, I'd invite any of the commissioners to sit down with myself and the person who knows more than I do, and I'm walking away.
I got one more call.
Sandra Williams. That this is wrongly done, wrongly calculated, and wrongly allocated to this development. Thank you.
Yeah. Ms. Stevens? Yeah, they've already gone through the rebuttal too, right?
Terry Stevens, 725 Dove Park Road, Covington. I have a couple of points of clarification that I'd like to have answered. And first thing is, how many if there have been any impact fees that have been requested or applied for on this particular project thus far, and or is there any intention for impact fees to be credited to this development? I'd also like to know what ordinance requires that or mandates that the final subdivision approval cannot be appealed. Somebody should know that, so I'd like to know what that is, and you can email me if you want to. I'd also like to know, or I'd like to make a point that this is the phase 1. I was here last month for the, whatever it was, phase 2 or phase 3, where the green space issue was discussed at length, and it was quite important, but I want to make the point that even though this is phase 1, if you push this through, how many developments in St. Tammany Parish have been stalled after phase 1? Or, I mean, look at Tammany. Tammany, ready for years, freaking years. And it sat and sat and sat. Look at the Asby land. It got putted, unputted, changed multiple times. So to push this through where issues have already happened, we already know about the clear cutting, we already know about the green space, both efficient. There are no penalties for the loss of trees. There's nobody knows about the tree survey, even though Jeff Shane said on the record that it was required, it was submitted, and the staff had no record of it. That's a problem. There was comments made about penalties should be made for the clear cutting that should not have taken place but did. But there aren't any penalties right now. That's a problem with our UDC, and it needs to be fixed before you continue to approve projects like this. That stuff's important. It's important.
Thank you.
Promises, they're not enforceable. So anything you hear promised by Mr. Shane is not enforceable, and that's important for you to know in this project, in the logistics projects, in all projects.
Thank you. All right. Those against, you've gone through your...
I'm sorry, I just want to point out that, Ms. Stevens, that is in section 120-52.
Okay. Those against have gone through their initial time of 10 minutes plus 5 minutes plus some additional time. What was the total time, do you know?
16 minutes.
16 minutes. Mr. Shane, it's rebuttal time.
You need 16 minutes? I'll give you 11.
Let's talk about how much time I have, so just so I'll understand, because I have a hard time following the rules and the application of the rules with regard to time. Just tell me what we're gonna do, and I'll be glad to abide by it.
You're gonna have 11:18.
That'll be fine. Thank you, sir. I think I'd like to start by saying that, and I tried to say this in my opening remarks, it's my belief in reviewing the code before this hearing that the standard of review for you this evening as it relates to final subdivision approval is to determine whether or not the developer has constructed the infrastructure in accordance with not only the preliminary subdivision approval that was unanimously granted, but also in accordance with those plans and specs and parish law as determined by your staff. So I'm going to start my comments by saying that I think the staff report speaks for itself. But I don't want to stop there because I think there have been too many suggestions and innuendos, in my view, some of which are not fact-based and are quite frankly false, and I think they deserve some attention. With the chair's permission, I would appreciate the opportunity to ask staff some questions or affirmations with regard to this project as I go through some of these discussions, and I say that with respect. I don't want to just start speaking to them. But with regard to the clearing of the site, we believe, and I tried to state that last month, that the clearing of the site was in accordance with an unlimited work order that we got pursuant to the preliminary subdivision approval that we got for phase one. To my knowledge, there's been no breach or violation of that unlimited work order as to phase one. We are embarrassed that to some extent the clearing exceeded the boundary of phase one, and we were properly not only notified, but a cease and desist order was issued because we had actually continued clearing some of the right-of-way into the next phase. But as it relates to phase one, we believe that we had every right to clear as we cleared pursuant to the unlimited work order. And at this point, I'd like to ask Ms. Lambert, I mean, other than the cease and desist for the clearing beyond the bounds of phase one, has the parish cited the developer for any improper clearing? Are you aware of any deficiency as it relates to the clearing of phase one?
Are you referring to citing as far as?
For doing anything improper as it relates to the clearing of phase one?
If I'm not mistaken, the violation was not for the clearing of phase one. It was for clearing of phase two.
Yes, ma'am, and I've certainly acknowledged that. But my point is that your laws allow us to seek the right to clear a phase. And I want to make sure that it's clear to everyone in the room, but quite frankly on the record, that we did the things that we needed to do in order to clear phase one. I would also say that with regard to the suggestion that there is only a single entrance to the subdivision, for those that are familiar, and hopefully you remember, there's actually an emergency access as well that's in phase two that will in fact facilitate egress, cars getting out of the subdivision in emergency conditions. With regard to the need for a traffic study, there's an extensive traffic study that has been prepared and submitted, and it was done with counts after the height of the COVID crisis, when the state allowed counts to be taken and reviewed. So again, let the record reflect that not only did the state allow phase one without a traffic study, but later, when the state did allow traffic counts to be taken, a traffic study was in fact prepared and it's been approved not only by your staff, but by the district at LADOTD. And in fact, the driveway permit has been physically issued to facilitate the development of this subdivision. With regard to sewer and water, we're not a part of the Tammany Utilities system. We're a part of the Utilities Inc. system, and we have made that clear in prior hearings. And in fact, Utilities Inc. is prepared. They have the capacity and the ability to service this subdivision. With regard to the possibility of additional plantings, I spoke with Mr. Owen prior to the meeting because Mr. Burks told me that he had a concern about maybe a possibility of some additional plantings. I told him that we will be willing to investigate, we can't commit tonight, but investigate the possibility of maybe making some plantings along the Military Road right-of-way. In that right-of-way, we're going to be constructing a turn lane, a southbound turn lane. We also have to construct a drainage ditch alongside of the road. So it'll be a question of how much room is there and will the state allow us to make plantings. So again, let the record reflect that tonight is the first time that specific idea has been presented to us, but that is something that I will discuss with my client tomorrow, and it's something we'll investigate and we'll see if we think that that is a feasible possibility. Again, with regard to the comment that buffers have been cut or that critical drainage areas have been unduly encroached upon, we simply don't believe that to be the case. If so, I think this staff report would be full of red ink telling you those things, and you would have heard about it really long before final. I don't minimize the suggestions, meaning that I think it's important, but quite frankly, to the extent that if there have been any areas that maybe we could have done a better job, remember that now that once the subdivision gets final subdivision approval, we'll be in a position to go in and fully landscape the subdivision, which certainly will include the primary entrance way, which will be greened up not just with grass, but with planting and trees, et cetera. And hopefully we will be able to do that as well, not just so much as it relates to the appearance in the corridor, but also to create the best environment we can for quality of life within this subdivision. I am not familiar with any breach of the public notice requirements. I will just tell you that I have studied this case since our last hearing last month with regard to phases 2 and 3, and have determined that there were public hearings on December 3 of 2019, January 16 of 2020, February 6 of 2020, August 4 of 2020, November 10 of 2020, and also, I guess, to the extent that these items appeared on the agenda review for the council, which is typically the Wednesday before the council meeting, they appeared on all those agendas as well. To tell you that I've looked at the postings on the ground or the farmer or the website or what was posted here physically, no. But I cannot imagine that this case, particularly with all the attention it seems to have gotten here in the last 3 or 4 innings of the game, has not been properly advertised. And I think the public has had plenty of notice. I think that's really evidenced by the fact that we had an appeal to the very first public hearing that we had, that appeal being heard in January of 2020. So that tells me that residents were involved and knew what was going on and that there were issues that were being discussed. With regard to, I think the gentleman's name was Hartman's suggestion that there might be a need for a waiver of the 60-foot distance from driveways to intersections. There's a lot of things I forget in life. You've done a good job of teaching me that lesson. There was some discussion early on with our layout, and we might have had a few situations that needed some attention, but there are no such situations and no such waivers have been granted. With regard to the green space calculations, I have to defer to staff and only suggest that they either interrupt me or speak at the appropriate time. But we've gone back and looked at the green space calculations. We believe that the code requires 16.46 acres. We know that we have provided 17.03 acres. We know that green space calculation has been reviewed very carefully. We believe it meets code in all respects, which includes only a 50% counting, if you will, for the pond area. And we're comfortable that we meet all of those requirements. There are no impact fees that have been paid for this project. We obviously have to get final subdivision approval first, and there are no plans at this juncture to seek any form of waiver of impact fees, et cetera. I'm not quite sure I understood the comment, but we plan to be just as any other subdivision. In fact, as you may remember, this subdivision actually includes improvements to Military Road that facilitate safe and efficient traveling to Crawford Landing Road, meaning turn lanes that are not needed for the entranceway to Montero, but improvements that everyone thought would be good and this developer agreed to do, and the state included those improvements, if you will, in that driveway permit that I referenced earlier. So in my remaining time, I think I would leave you with 2 points. One, I sort of direct to Mr. Reynolds and Ms. Roberts as it relates to engineering, and just ask that they correct me if I misunderstand. But I have gone over this question with them very carefully prior to this hearing, and that is, number one, have all of the preliminary subdivision approval conditions been met 100%? And number two, is there any reason that staff knows of why final subdivision approval should not be granted for Bonterra Phase 1A? And I believe that the answers are clear and convincing. I understand the other issues that were raised with regard to Phases 2 and 3. I might disagree with them, but again, there's a time and a place, and tonight is the time for Phase 1A to get final subdivision approval. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. All right, we've had comments, we've had rebuttal. I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner McInnes.
I have a question for staff on the green space. This came up before with the area across the road was part of the approval that we gave when I was first commissioner a year and a half ago, and we were told it would be developed for use by the community. And now, when we were discussing Phase 2 or 3, we were told it is now not going to be developed. So does this, it seems like this Phase 1A doesn't have a usable green space for the public. And how does that, how do we make up for that? I mean, does any of the green space, does it have trails, or is it usable in this phase?
As far as I know, the green space was calculated accurately, and I don't have any additional comments in that regards.
I mean, it was a yes or no question. Is any usable by the community? There's no parks, there's no trails. The part that was going to be used is across the road, and we were persuaded to allow that because it was going to be developed for use. And then later we found out that decision may be made by staff, I don't know, but so now we have a phase with no usable green space. And what if Phases 2 and 3 never happen? Then this community has no usable green space. Am I wrong? I'm just asking.
Well, the green space that is included here is part of that Phase 1.
But we were told recently that it's not now going to be, there will be no parking, there will be no canoe launch or whatever, a pier or whatever was going to happen there, no trail. Because there was not, as I understood, you didn't want to encourage people to cross a busy highway. So for safety reasons. So was it ever considered that, okay, now for Phase 1A, we need to make some adjustments because of that decision?
I'm not aware that it was considered. That's the plan that is in front of you. I mean, I would have to go back and recalculate or review the information, unless if Mr. Reynolds has additional information to add to this.
Okay. Jeff, I see you want to chime in.
First of all, as it relates to the green space for Phase 1, I'm sure you have looked at parcel G2.
G2?
2.4 acres. Parcel G3, across the street, 0.69 acres.
But it's,
And the entirety of the pond, let me finish, as it relates, I didn't say a calculation of 100% of the area of the pond, but I want to make sure that you see the confines of this phase, because I think one comment I heard was that you didn't see any green space for this phase.
no. That's usable, recreational.
But very usable, yes, ma'am. I'm going to reiterate. Please take a look at parcel G2 and parcel, is that G3? G3. And the area around the pond. I didn't say the pond itself for swimming, canoeing, etc. With regard to the parcel across the road, please remember that that parcel is green space, but that was with phases 2 and 3. And that is not before you this evening.
What's shown on our final plat.
No, ma'am. It's physically there, but the dark line outlines Phase 1A. I'm not suggesting it's not a part of the PUD and that it's not a part of phases 2 and 3. What I am suggesting is that there is green space for Phase 1A, very real green space, where we intend to put playground equipment, rec opportunities, et cetera, on G2 and G3.
But on 1A, and in the area, you called it G3, along the drain, is there a trail? Or G2, is there a trail?
Is there a trail? No, there will be open areas that will be developed for people to be able to have recreation, active recreation.
But there's lots around it, so I don't understand.
No, ma'am, I don't think you're looking at parcel G2.
I'm looking at it.
Okay, well, yes, there's a creek or a waterway that sort of runs through the center of it, but there's high bank land along each side of it, and very ample land, I might add. And also, if you look at parcel G3 on the north side of Caramay Street, you will see that that area is available as well for recreation. And that is the plan for Phase 1A.
If I could just add to, the PUD just requires open space. It doesn't require any percentage of it be dedicated to active or passive green space, except there is some difference in the calculation of the passive green space. But I would like to point out that we still have kayaking listed as an active use, and 4.14 acres is designated as active use on the PUD plan, which says it includes the pond and playground. I just want to make sure if staff has not addressed that is addressed on the plat, since kayaking cannot be allowed on a publicly maintained waterway. Thank you.
We understand and agree.
Thank you.
I guess I'm confused because I thought of those 7 guidelines for PUDs that a certain percent was supposed to be active. Is that not right?
No, ma'am.
It's not designated.
It's not.
Oh,
Just open space and green space.
okay, I'm done.
Mr. Fitzmaurice.
I have a question for staff and a comment. To Ms. Stevens, so to answer your question, $170,000 in impact fees, that would be paid if this got approved, and then there's roughly $70,000 in a 2-year warranty obligation that they'd have to post. There's no credits, they'd have to actually spend the dollars. I just told you that, it's in the report. The report for this meeting, the staff report.
No. You don't understand my question. Just because it says that impact fees will be assigned, they can ask for impact fee credits after the fact, and that's what I want to know.
we concur that if final subdivision approval is granted for Phase 1A, that we will meet all of the conditions on page 2 of your staff report, which include the payment of those fees.
Which includes the payment. Okay, I already answered your question. Thank you. So, I'm not going to answer it for a third time. To the staff, I'm not aware, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in subdivisions, do we have a tree ordinance? I know on commercial property we do, but I wasn't aware on residential. Meaning like cutting the trees.
If the plat shows no-cut buffers, they have to obey or follow the no-cut buffers that are shown in the plans.
Right, but there's no, in the ordinance, I know for a commercial piece of property, we have designations where you can't clear cut, essentially, let's say that. But I wasn't aware in residential. I know in a no-cut buffer, you can't do that, obviously, but in the area that you're going to develop.
That's correct, unless if it's mentioned on the plan.
Right, okay. All right, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Barcelona.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Barcelona. Mr. Shane, I have a question, and I don't know when the answer will actually kick in, but as part of the approval from DOTD and the parish and everything, there's changes going to be made to Military Road to get into Bonterra, to get into the landings road and everything. When will those be constructed?
Well, we have a driveway permit to do it, but that driveway permit is also a part, it is not mandated or required until Phase 2 and Phase 3 are constructed. So to answer the question, they are not mandated or required to be done for Phase 1. With Phases 2 and 3 being in limbo, meaning.
Right, I understand
and I don't
that.
mean disrespect to you, but they were denied by the commission. They have
That's
been
right.
appealed to the council. So I don't know what the timing of that will be, but I want to make sure that it's clear that it was not required by your staff or by DOTD that those mitigation measures be constructed in connection with Phase 1A.
Okay, all right. And if that's the rules of the game, then that's what we'll have to live with, but thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve 2022-2795 FP. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, we go down to item 24. Case is 2022-2842-FP, Covington Place Cottage, Phase 2, developer owner Title Group LLC. Engineer is Richard C. Lambert, Consultants LLC. Parish Council District Representative Honorable David Fitzgerald. General location, the property is located on the north side of 10th Street, east of Ruby Street, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and then final inspection was made on April 27th, 2022. The inspection disclosed that all the asphalt roads are constructed and the subsurface drainage is functioning. The following uncompleted items, numbers 1 through 5, existed at the time of final inspection and will be completed before plats are signed. Additionally, should the Planning Commission approve a request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 1,238 linear feet at $22 per linear foot, for a total of $27,236 for a period of 2 years. Staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. Additionally, no mandatory developmental impact fees are required in accordance with its ordinance number 08-1751 and the memorandum from Mr. Neil Hall dated October 15th, 2009. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's here representing Title Group? Good evening. And you are?
Good evening. My name is Adam Henning. Address is 217 Evangeline Drive, Mandeville, Louisiana. I'm here representing the owner and developer Title Group LLC. I would just like to point out that we have a very minimal punch list here of 5 items, and they are all paperwork related, I think is a fair way to describe them. I can also report that all of these items have been addressed and have been turned into staff ready for their review. They obviously have not had time to do that yet, which I understand. And I received an email from Utilities Inc. regarding number 4, that they have completed all their testing and anticipate issuing the letter of acceptance for the sewer and water system tomorrow. And of course, I understand that no plats can be signed until that and the rest of these items have been reviewed and approved by staff. And I would like to just take one moment to thank staff for working with us as developers on the front end to let us know any deficiencies in the field, which allowed us to get them cleared up and present you as a council with a clean staff report, if I may say so.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else wish to speak in favor of this approval? Anyone wish to speak against? I've got 2 cards here. Gene Young, and the other one is Greg Young. Good evening, sir.
Gene Young, and I'm at 19406 Sunshine Avenue, Covington. I am the abutting property owner, and I'm going to ask the Planning Council to not approve, not give the final, thereafter the final approval on this subdivision. Everything, all the T's are crossed, the I's dotted, final approval. Don't approve it until they finish the job. We have, my property is wide open to the subdivision. The developer has clear cut every tree in the back. We've got complete loss of privacy both ways. The new subdivision is not going to have privacy from us, the neighbors. We're not going to have privacy from them. I got car headlights shining into my back of my house, into our den. The noise level is, from 190, is increased by like up 80% because of the clear cutting. We have starter homes going back there with new families with kids will be going in our yard, climbing trees, falling, breaking limbs. Parents will be suing us because it's our property. It's just simply not fair to force an adjoining property owner to put up their own fence for noise, liability concerns, and privacy. If I'm forced to put up a fence, the subdivision is not going to like it. The developer should have the financial burden to restore the barrier between these 2 neighborhoods. That would be the right thing to do. Oh, got 8 minutes left. Whoa. That's, I don't intend to use it all up, but perhaps we can find out the answer to this. My neighbor, the developer, put up like a 280-foot long fence on my neighbor's side, and they stopped at my property. Why? Why was the fence stopped? Why didn't it go around my property? Don't I need privacy too? What was the reason for stopping the fence? That's what I'd like to know. Is Mr. Henning able to answer that question?
He will come back in rebuttal.
Pardon me?
He will come back in the rebuttal.
It'll come back as a rebuttal.
In his rebuttal.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to know, why the fence was stopped. Why doesn't it go in back of my property? I shouldn't be obligated to put out whatever money it's going to take to put up a fence. This is crazy. I mean, we moved to, after living in other states for probably 28 years, we moved back to Louisiana. We selected this house because it had like woods in the back. Beautiful privacy, quiet, no noise, very nice. That's gone. But at least I need to have a fence put up in the back. So I'm asking you to not approve this until a fence is put up at the back of my property.
Thank you. Greg Young.
Greg Young, 71418 North Street. I'm actually about 7 houses down from them. Sunshine runs into North. I actually emailed some pictures to Mrs. Lambert earlier, which I don't know if you have copies of them, but you can see, clearly see, their property is in the middle. The fence that Mr. Henning put up is on the left-hand side, and they just skipped my parents' yard. Their neighbor on the right took it upon himself because he's not, you know, he didn't want to be bothered. He put up his own fence on the right, and it's some kind of like a chain link type fence. But there's no way that my parents are on a fixed income. Why should they have to pay $25,000, $30,000 out of their own savings for a fence they have nothing to do with? You guys approved this PUD, which is garden homes. We're all zoned on 1 acre minimum. It's 2 different zonings. There should be a buffer, there should be a fence, and we shouldn't have to pay for it. They shouldn't have to pay for it. I mean, it should have already been, I think it was an error. That's honestly what I think happened. I think it was a mistake, because why would just the fence on the left be approved and required and not the entire property? There's 3 homes, not 1, but one has, just one on the left has the fence. All we're asking is for a fence, privacy fence, to keep kids out of their backyard. Kids are going to think it's woods. They're going to go playing in their backyard, which is not fenced, and they're going to walk right up to their back patio.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Haynes, rebuttal.
First, I'll address the fence that was there originally and the fence that I replaced. That was on the back of address 19402 Sunshine Avenue, owned by Miss Margot Robin. What happened there was the previous developer of this property, Mr. Laporte, had constructed a wooden fence near this property line as a result of some complaints of a large pile of dirt that was washing dirt onto the neighboring property. So he built a fence to stop that from happening. As part of the construction process, back on August 10th of 2021, I had a correspondence with staff who noted that this fence was previously constructed at 19402 Sunshine and said that we would need to replace it. I brought a copy of the fence locate done by the surveyor, which shows it wasn't on the property line, it was actually built crooked. So we had to remove it in order to put the drainage in according to plan. So that's what we did. We fixed the fence that was in the wrong spot and replaced it with a new fence. I have spoken to both these gentlemen, Mr. and Mr. Young, on the phone, and they asked me to put up a fence for them for free, and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And they said, well, we're going to come fight you at final. And I said, well, sir, that's your right. So that's the history of how we ended up here and why the fence next to them was built and why a fence was not built on their property. There is no fence required in the plans. I never said I was going to build a fence. I never promised anybody I would build a fence. I don't just go around building free fences all over the place. That's just not how we do it.
Okay, thank you. You have 5 minutes.
If I understood, I believe Mr. Henning said that I just requested from him that he put up a fence. I have never asked him to put up a fence, period. He may be referring to one of my other neighbor. I don't know, but the fence not only goes in back of my, the neighbor at 19402 Sunshine, it goes back beyond her, it's 280 feet long. Her property is only like 150 feet, but like I mean, it goes like almost 300 feet long. So, and we haven't even had a discussion about, would you pull it?
Sir, you need to talk this way.
I just don't know the reason for your putting a fence up there. You put a fence up behind my neighbor, but not mine. Why? I mean, was it because of the my neighbor has a pond? You were afraid of liability concerns with children going back into the pond?
Sir, the fence was just replaced. The fence had been required by the parish back, I believe, in 2010, when a prior version of this subdivision came for preliminary approval. And the commission at that time required, as part of the final staff comments, that the fence be placed on that portion of the property line. And when they took it down, we advised the new developer that they needed to replace that fence that had been taken down. So that's why that fence had to be replaced. It's never been a part of our ordinances or been a part of this plan that they require to fence the whole property line.
That fence was not exactly on a property line. It was crooked. So, yeah, I understand they had to take it down and put it back on the property line. I also had a fence that is more on my property than it is on the cottage's land property. And that came down with the hurricane, which I guess nobody's responsible for it. A tree knocked that one down. But nevertheless, it's just not right to have no barrier at all between these two neighborhoods. I mean, we've got the neighbor on the right, if you're facing the rear of the property, or facing the property, they've got a fence now. One on the left, they were so anxious they put up their own fence. Well, I'm not a high roller business owner like my neighbor on the left. You know, like my son said, I'm retired, fixed income. You know, I'm not loaded with extra money. There should be a fence there. Now, if I'm forced to put up a fence, it's going to be a crappy-looking chicken wire fence or something that is going to be very cheap. And I don't think that's going to be very desirable to the new neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. All right.
2 minutes, anybody else?
Anybody else? We've got a couple of minutes.
I'll go ahead and mention that I'll be giving him a hand putting this fence up, that Mr. Henning is going to have trouble selling his houses because it's not going to be a very attractive fence. We're going to put the ugliest fence that the parish will allow us to put in that space.
Okay, thank you.
Don't do it. Okay, simple.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to close to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
I understand the situation, and I really feel for the retirees. It wasn't in our ordinance, and we have to comply with that. So I have to move to approve.
Can I say one thing? Could you please take a look at the spot, at the pictures, and go look at it?
We did.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
We have looked at them. Thank you.
Why does the fence, why are neighbors have fence if we don't?
Thank you. Ron, you've got a motion.
Again, it is not this developer's responsibility to replace something that is not in our ordinance or that's not required. And so I'm going to move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Willie.
I'm gonna second it, yes. Okay. I was looking for something, I had something else to ask, but never mind.
Commissioner Seeger.
I'd like to ask the developer, is there any chance that you could plant bamboo or something in that area that would give these people some relief, some kind of a buffer plant?
It's solid.
To keep people out of their yard? Would you consider doing something like that?
Let me, if I can respond. The back of their property is solid woods. It comes into the dirt, I mean, the sand from their lot. It's a pretty, you can look at it on the aerial. It's significant woods. So, I mean, if you put bamboo, it might give some type of buffer, but there is woods all the way to the back.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, second by Commissioner Seeger.
No, we already seconded it. We already have a motion and a second.
Yeah, the motion is second. He thirds.
Randolph and
Okay, all right. All right. All right, any further discussion? Please vote. Sir, it's, sir,
Clear property and not put any sort of barrier.
we have heard your comments. We've heard his comment. Okay, thank you. McInnes, Chris?
Motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right. I think we're down to the end here, folks. Item 27, under old business, entering parish right-of-way, servitudes, easement, and Tammany trays. Request to enter the parish right-of-way for portions of 7th Avenue, 8th Avenue, 7th Street for the purpose of extending the street and installing drainage features. Pally First Subdivision. Debtor is HMM Development LLC. Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Cheryl Tanner. General location, the property is located on the 7th Avenue, 8th Avenue, and 7th Street, east of 6th Street, south of 435, Obita Springs, Louisiana, Ward 10, District 6. Developer requesting a modification to his original request and extension of time to submit the required documentation and complete the work. Staff?
Yes, sir. Honorable Commissioners, the above referenced resolution was adopted on April 7th, 2021. The resolution states that the petitioner shall submit all documentation within 1 year from the date of adoption. Additionally, the petitioner has 2 years to complete the work of this project. If not, within 2 years, the approval of this work will be voided, and the petition will be required to reapply for permission. The petitioner's engineer, Mr. Jeff Wilson, has requested an extension of time to submit the required documentation. See email dated March 17th, 2022. As a result of this letter, his office has not received the requirement documentation since the time has expired for the petitioner to furnish all documentation. The following action is required by the Planning Commission to allow the petitioner to proceed with this project. To extend the adoption date to May 10th, 2022, hereby extending an additional 1 year, and the documentation to May 10th, 2023, and the completion date to May 10th, 2024. Excuse me. Mr. Jeff Wilson has also requested to revise Resolution 21027 to remove the request to enter the parish right-of-way for 7th Avenue and 7th Street. The Department of Engineering and Development has no objection to Mr. Wilson's request. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there's no one else in the audience, so I'm going to bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
A motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Seeger.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Seeger. Do we have any idea from Mr. Wilson if he's going to move forward with this, or is he going to drag his feet again? What's the deal?
Staff's been in contact with Mr. Wilson. That is the engineer for the project. So upon this request, they went out and started doing a lot of the drainage analysis and putting together reports. And they determined that there is a lot of wetlands out there, which is kind of the resulting request to remove the 7th Avenue lots and the 7th Street lots. They're not feasible to develop those lots, so they're not going to request to enter those rights of way anymore. Additionally, there was some issues, not issues, but some questions as it relates to how to drain the property once they construct their pond and do their detention, which staff and their engineer have been going back and forth with to make sure that they're draining in accordance with the ordinance and also have the legal right to drain because it does go across an adjacent property to the Abita River, so they're currently obtaining a servitude to facilitate that drainage feature. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, why it's taken them so long. It's not that they've been dragging their feet, but they've been actively trying to address some hurdles that's a little unique to this property.
Okay, all right, thank you. We've got a motion and a second to approve. Please vote.
Motion to approve carries.
Thank you. We have no new business. Do I hear adjournment?
You got the deputy.